Let us know when you're ready.
Hello.
Yep.
CNET, please let us know when you're ready.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. It was
Not-
a perfect storm.
I think that was Deb that said it. I didn't hear CNET say anything.
Yeah, but she put in chat, ready. So the first item on our work agenda is the signage or wording for the child safety related to vehicles. Ralph sent out a memo this afternoon. Deb, since you were the one that brought this up, do you want to start the discussion?
Yes, Ralph sent out examples of two different types of signage that could be used, hopefully to mitigate some of the traffic problems on Pine Street. One is the PennDOT triangular yellow sign that says "Watch Children," and the other is a smaller sign that looks more like a yard sign that says "Drive as if your children live here."
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're both good possibilities. As Ann pointed out at our last meeting, you don't necessarily want to draw attention to the fact that there are children in the neighborhood, but both of these sign options do. And I don't know what the alternatives are. There is one existing Watch Children sign at the intersection of Pine and Stony Batter right now.
And that's the yellow one?
That's the yellow triangle, diamond-shaped PennDOT sign. There's
On a yard sign is a yard sign. I've seen those before, but they're not necessarily on the street. They're in somebody's yard.
Right.
right, and the properties along Pine Street don't really have much of a front yard anyway, and that was blocked by visibility would be blocked by parked cars.
I think what we were trying to point out is we could get anything made into a sign, so we're just looking for the language.
Could we put something like the alternative, "Drive like your children live here"? I think that's a nicer sign than "Watch Children," because I think that helps mitigate something what Ann was talking about. Not completely, but I think it's
Right.
less in your face.
Well, maybe we could just not even mention children, just say, "Please slow down," or something like that. I mean, I don't know how you speed on Pine Street. It's almost a one-way street.
Well, and there is already a reduced speed limit sign if you're on Spring Street traveling towards Pine. When you get to the intersection with Logan, there is a road narrows 20 mph sign there
Right.
now.
Right.
Which,
I mean, I've driven down Pine Street a number of times. It's pretty hard to speed on Pine Street.
And of all the, not to chime in, but of all the places in town that we get complaints, that's of speeding, we get a lot of parking complaints there because of the, lack of parking and
Right.
on-street parking and the narrowness. Usually the complaints we get are from school buses, can't make the turns, but that's really not an area that we get a lot of speeding complaints. There might be some speeding issues there, but I'm not aware of them.
I'm just relaying what resident on Pine Street
Okay.
relayed to me about speeding vehicles and the number of children who live along that street now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sean, in terms of the signage, where in town do you think that this kind of signage would be helpful? Because I think we're looking generally at Pine Street, but I think there are other places in town as well that we might want to put up similar signs.
High Street is a big one. Like the 1000 block of High Street, especially during the school time. People use that as a thoroughfare to get around town out by the middle school. A lot of kids traveling at the end of the school day by foot, and a lot of pedestrian traffic. And I know there are a lot of kids out in that area. That would be one of them, around the Beaver Farm area, and then out probably Beaver Street in that area.
My street.
High Street. Did I say high?
Yeah, you did. I said my
Yeah.
street, which is North Thomas.
Yes, Thomas Street.
One of the things we could do is, it might be novel. We could say, please slow down. Slow moving old people live here. Senior citizens moving slowly.
I'm not touching that one, sir.
My concern would be that the more words there are on a sign that somebody has to read may become a distraction or.
Right.
But they would have to slow down in order to read them.
You're jumping to all kinds of conclusions there.
I personally like the drive like your kids live here.
I like
Or
that one.
drive like you live here.
That would work as well.
Yeah, that's why I tell my wife all the time we go visit my parents in their neighborhood.
Drive like your mom lives here.
Yeah, drive like you live here. Yeah.
From your experience, Sean, is there anyone that might work better than another?
No, I really drive like you live here, or your kids live here, or your family lives here. That would hit, I think. And then the red blue lights behind them. One thing we might want to try is if we can get I know we tried to get a grant but if we can borrow maybe a road sign, the speed signs from a neighboring jurisdiction, when we get complaints, like we can put them up on a street that we have speeding complaints, like Pine Street, and it'll give you you can program them to give you all kind of data. PennDOT has these, but you can actually buy them or get them you can attach it right to you see the trailers that are they're called speed sign trailers, and they flash they calculate the data, and they'll flash your speed. And then there's one in State College has one. If you drive through Lamont, it has a red and blue light on it, and it flashes your speed. And it also records it, and it gives you like a little study. But might behoove us to maybe try to look into getting one of those. They really slow you down, actually.
It's the red and blue lights that slow you down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So this is a piece of equipment that could be used all over town.
Yes, you could take it down.
It's mobile, and you can move it from one place to another.
Right.
They're solar, aren't they, Sean?
Yeah, they are now, I think. Yep. I know State College Borough has one, or I don't know if it belongs to College Township, but it was in College Township in Lamont there, as you go over the overpass.
I think it belongs to College Township. It doesn't belong to the borough.
Right.
Could we, in council this evening, ask the managers to look into the cost of doing something like that? Meanwhile, we could put the one sign up that we need down on Pine Street.
Joanne, I can tell you this, this came up here probably, I'm going to say 4 or 5 years ago, and we did go out and price them for council. My recollection is they were anywhere from $24,000 to $30,000.
Ouch.
Were they that? Wow.
Never mind.
That's why we borrow.
We can check again. Perhaps the prices have come down on them, but that was what we looked into.
There might be different features. You can get some that might have different features that might not record all the data, but just flash the sign. We look into that, or flash the speed.
Is there any kind of equipment sharing agreement, the way there's an equipment sharing agreement for the compost grinder with other municipalities?
I don't know, Sean. It would seem that Spring Township would probably, maybe they would be interested in sharing.
They have one, I do believe.
We may have borrowed theirs. I can't recall.
I know that if it was like, say in law enforcement, if we purchase something from a federal grant, like the Counterterrorism Task Force, it's shared, like a special police vehicle, and there's a lot of equipment that we do buy that's shared if it's bought on a certain grant. I don't think those were bought on that kind of a grant. They were bought outright by the municipalities.
I think in some cases, the street's gonna have to drive what type of signage goes there. I think
Right.
Put this equipment on 144, whether you're coming out of Bellefonte or coming from Pleasant Gap, there's no real space to put
There's no
them.
place to put it.
Well, no, these signs, you can attach them right to a stop sign, not a stop sign, but a speed limit sign that's already existing. They're small enough.
Okay.
So there are smaller ones that are no bigger than a regular road sign. And maybe I can get a hold of the representative, Mr. Benninghoff, and see if he can help us out and getting something from the state, from PennDOT. We have 5 state highways going through the borough. Maybe they can assist us in obtaining something like this.
Just for clarification, the ones we priced were the ones that were similar to what you'll see in Lamont.
Right.
A really big one.
No, that one, the one in Lamont is just as big as a normal speed limit sign.
Yes, but
Maybe
it's attached to a mobile
Oh, okay.
stanchion.
A trailer. Okay.
Sean's right, though. There are some that I think you can even attach to your speed limit signs, and then you move them around, and you wouldn't hardly even see them.
Right.
Kind of gives the police an idea of traffic speed on the street and time and so forth. But going back to the sign, so do you all want us just to get a few signs that say "Drive like your kids live here"? Post those in some areas that were mentioned.
I
Are
like
those-
that. Go
Sorry,
ahead,
go
Ann.
ahead.
I
Go ahead,
didn't say
Deb.
anything, but
Oh,
I like
Deb.
the Drive Like You Live Here. That's the one that,
You mean instead of saying children drive like you live here?
Drive Like You Live Here.
And would that be a red sign with white letters? Or could it be anything that we,
I think it would be yellow. There's
Yellow?
certain there's certain PennDOT regulations you have to follow.
Yeah.
Warnings are yellow and black lettering.
okay, so it would have to be the standard yellow diamond, but with drive
Yes.
as if you live here.
Yes.
Yeah, if we put it red and white, it looked like a stop sign.
Right, that's confusing. Well, that might work too, but
Yeah.
So during this session this evening, when we get down to the streets committee, we need a motion for that effect. And some-
okay.
Since you're the chair, Deb, why don't you make it?
Okay. So
Good.
go ahead, Doug.
Before you order the signs, would you go out and see where you might put them?
Well, I wrote down High Street, Beaver Street, North Thomas Street, and Beaver Farm as just a couple examples.
And how expensive are they?
These types of signs aren't very expensive, Doug. And we might be looking at a few $100s max.
Okay, we need to move over to our other topic, if we've got this one
Okay.
finished. So basically, Ralph, Don, and I were talking last week, and they're not quite sure how to move forward on getting this commission or committee set up, and wanted to know what we're kind of looking for. So this is basically brainstorming. What is it you would like to see it doing? Ralph put it up as an either or. I personally have a merged idea between Ralph's ideas. Ralph was talking about totally internal or totally community oriented. And I think we can have a single committee that does a little bit of both.
Right. I also have some input whenever you're ready for it.
Why don't we hear from you first, and then, because
Okay.
we've had some of this discussion without you there, so
Right.
we'll listen to you first.
Okay. So first and foremost, whenever you look at when I look back at when I first started here, this is something that I wish I would have started when I first became a chief. And a lot of I did a little research on this, and if put together properly, which I feel that we're going to do it. And it's when you have an advisory committee, not a review board, more to say, I think that there's a lot of different issues in the community that an advisory board can tackle, can assist the chief with in making decisions. And there's a few ways that I would like to look at it. And one way is, we have to look at how we I guess accept applications, what kind of people we want on this. I think the demographics need to be as broad as, I would like to try to grab, if you look at the borough as a whole, all the expertise that we have in our borough, within our borough. We have retired people, we have some students, we have, Penn State students that live here. We have, just a lot of, not a lot of cultural diversity, but, I think we need a very diverse group. And if looking at some pitfalls that, if you like kind of like stack this advisory committee, is like partisan one way or partisan the other way. Everyone on it is pro law enforcement or anti law enforcement. I think you need to have some critics there. I think it needs to be a good mix. Just throwing out some ideas as you don't want it to be so formal that all their meetings are nothing but an hour and a half of, boredom. I think it needs to be kind of on an informal basis, but still to open up dialogue so, we can, use each other. I mean, the police need input from the community and to build and maintain the relationships. And a lot of these are formed because of, in larger cities, because of strife, maybe in Ferguson or other places where there was, something major that the police did wrong. In this instance, I'm hoping it's not the case. We have a very good relationship with our community now. But this is another way to, foster that and continue the relationship with the community, the businesses, business owners, and our, the people that we work for. But I think what we should do is sit down and define our goals. What do we want out of this? Do we want to, you don't want to, there's no way that I can, it's basically them advising the chief and me of certain things that I take to them or they take to me. And then they have, in turn, are the voice to the community. And, as they educate me, I educate them. Maybe they don't know how some, police operations work. And then, they get back to the constituency and, to create more of a open dialogue there. But, I don't think we should use a boilerplate. I think we need to tailor it to what Bellefonte Borough needs and wants. Because we're not Philadelphia, we're not Pittsburgh. We're a small community, and we need good representation. I think is the key on that board, and not that you don't want everyone to be alike. You want a vast diversity there. So I guess we would have to. I would say that Borough should have an application process and get a pool of people that are interested and go through them and try to get as diverse as we can. Let me see a couple other notes that I made. Oh, another thing is some people that will be not willing to, that would want to serve on us, but might not have the economic means to donate their time. I don't know if there's a way that, like, if a person applied and they have childcare needs and for an hour and a half, we might have to find them a babysitter or something. I don't know. But I think that to get into, just not the people that can afford to be on this committee, to get, more people a bigger diverse group. Let's see here. So just as long as we're right off the bat that we know that my administrative responsibilities and decision making, they can advise me on something, but the liability and the duty and responsibility by law comes from my decision, and they cannot overstep a borough council decision, or I work for borough council. My decision should be the decision that I just can't see them making the final say. And very matter.
John, did you read the items that Ralph censored? The last sentence in both of them basically said that they don't have any control over what
Right,
happens.
yeah,
Only
yeah,
an
right.
advisory group, they did not.
Right.
Right.
Correct. I saw
Yeah.
that. Got that today.
So,
So I think it's a great idea, and I think that what we should do is have maybe the personnel committee get together, or another ad hoc committee get together and define our goals, what we want out of this, how many people. You don't want it too large, you don't want it too small, and and get as much diversity in this thing as we can, and using the expertise that we have within the borough. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at things, and it's not always the law enforcement way to, sometimes, thinking outside of the box is great. There's a lot of effective ways to deal with issues, and yeah. Sure.
Let me interject here for a moment, if I will. The memorandum from Ralph has two sections in: external focus on police and internal focus. And the main emphasis for the initiation of this police commission is really about looking at what we do and how we can do it less expensively. And it's all about finance. The interaction that the police has with the community is excellent, and if anybody has seen a recent Facebook post that got a lot of comments when Officer Luce stopped two kids that were skateboarding and one biking. Neither of them had helmets. He pulled them over and gave them new helmets right from his car, and it was someone filmed it, posted it, and all the great feedback that we got from the community over just a small issue like that was somewhat overwhelming. So the first paragraph of this memorandum that was put out by Ralph talks about the issues of interaction with the community. We already have that, and it's good. There's not a lot to be done with that. The real emphasis on this committee, as I stated before, is financial. So,
yeah.
So let's cut out the fluff and go right to the heart of why this committee was formed. And if that's and if everybody agrees with that, fine. If you don't, we can work with the fluff. Not that it's not important, it's just that we already have that. What we're looking for is how we can do this more efficiently, effectively, and with the least amount of money.
Well, I have to interject response to that, Mayor. I have read the preliminary report from Mr. Merriman, the company that came in and did our evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me?
The stamp program.
Yeah. So there's a lot of your questions would be answered there as far as how we do our business and conduct it, as far as efficiently and effectively, financially. If this is just about the finances, then I'm not really too excited about it. Really,
So,
I mean, if it's internally focused, you know, then I don't know.
I have a comment.
go ahead, Doug.
Why does Sean have a copy of that already and none of us others do? The report from the surveying group. How did he get the copy and we did not?
I was working with him, and what happens is that he writes something up, and he afforded me the opportunity to put it and to see if he had a reaction.
That shouldn't be happening, in my opinion. The other thing is, I agree with the mayor. When Chief Weaver comes before council, I don't know the right questions to ask a lot of times. So I'm looking for help to make the police department more efficient, more cost savings, and to learn the questions and the reports we should be receiving from the police force.
So,
That was the whole, we're trying to make this more efficient.
so I'm taking.
You're assuming that we're not efficient. I'm sorry, Jane.
So I'm sort of taking a middle ground. I think it needs to be a little bit of both, because I think efficiency is really important in terms of the budget, but I also strongly believe that we need to have some kind of community input in order to know that what we're providing is what the community needs and wants. So what I was thinking is a middle ground where the first step is getting some community input into what services they would like to see, whether we already have it or not, from our police, and then look at the internal budgeting to make recommendations for improvement. Sometimes that may be reducing a certain section, but it might be a slight increase in another section of the police budget. I don't know. But I think generally there are some things that we're doing with the police force that we could actually reduce costs by working with other programs, such as from the county level, such as mental health, or from the domestic violence thing. And I think what we need to do is, once we get an idea of what it is the community wants, what we're doing, what is approved, what can be tweaked, then we could include MOU recommendations between, for example, we've talked about regionalization. That might be part of what the community would come up, working with MHMR, with the DA's office, with whatever. But I think, strongly considering what's been happening around the country in the last 6 months, that diversity issue that Sean mentioned is very, very important. We have a few people of color here in town I would like to see, and I know of at least one person who has the expertise in mental health who happens to be Black. And whether he would be willing to do it or not, I haven't said anything to him, but those are the kinds of, we might be able to get, without creating an overwhelmingly large commission, I think we could come up with something that gets that diversity there so that the public feels that they're being fully represented. Without that, I think it's a little bit of spinning our wheels.
I just want to be clear. I'm not saying we can't improve on what we're doing, but I really wanted to get to the heart of why this commission was formed. And
well, Doug started it off with just internal, and I came at it from the opposite end of a citizen review board. And I think we can have a melding of the two together.
Well, occasionally we ask for certain information from the police chief and we don't get it.
Which information have you not received?
I can't remember them, but I know we've given direction a couple times. And
Doug, I'm not to interrupt, but any information that anyone has ever asked of me has gotten the information.
That
there are no secrets. The only information I can't give are investigative details, but I'm an open book. You pick the phone up.
Sean, you're always cooperative. However, we're looking, occasionally we ask for more detailed reports, and I'll use one of Spring Township's reports. Their monthly report is different than the one we get. And I think a couple years ago, I think Gay Dunn was even still on the council, and we asked for that and we never got it. And then sometimes we'll ask questions and you'll give us answers, and occasionally, on occasion, I don't think they're accurate. And
Okay.
and I'll use it for instance, when the state police is required to cover our town when our police services are not covering the town. And that was sort of a question you didn't think was going to happen, but they do. They cover us. You don't have, I mean, we can ask them, but they're required to cover us when we don't have state.
Exactly. I never said anything.
When we were in a conversation a few weeks ago, you had to check with them to make
Check
sure
with them.
they would cover us, and they do cover us.
Exactly. I write to them to request that, Doug.
So,
I wrote a letter to the state police commissioner.
Deb and Ann, we haven't heard from either one of you.
I would like to see community input as much as possible, just because everybody's perspective on what the police do and are responsible for may be completely misconstrued, or people's needs are very different. I don't know that I could give you a list of what the police department's responsibilities are. You know, usually, unless you have personal interaction, you see the car, the officers, but the community's, the public's impression of what services the police department provides, I don't think is generally well known.
I think
I differ.
Serve and protect.
Sure.
You know,
Right.
I had $1 for in the last 2 months since the negative issues have been happening. I cannot go downtown without people walking up to me and thanking me and my department. People coming into the department with gifts. People sending us letters. It's overwhelming, and it's you know, I've said this 100 times in the last couple of weeks. You know, I've thanked so many people. I have offered each and every council member to come out and ride with us. It's a very open invitation. Some of you have, some haven't. I only have so much office staff to provide so many reports and so much detail, Doug. We have a lot more to do than Spring Township does. All right. They have a full-time office staff that has, I'm not saying she doesn't work hard, but she does not have the amount of work as Karen does. I'm a working chief and an administrative chief. I don't have time to sit in front of my computer all day long and run numbers. If I have not given you any information that you've requested, or if you think it's false information I'm providing you, then you call me out on it right then and there. I don't know what a committee is going to do to get you that kind of information when you can pick the phone up and just make a phone call and get the information in a heartbeat. Some information is very easy to get and some is not very easy to get.
So, Ann?
Okay. I do agree with what Joanne was saying, that, and I do appreciate the fact that the community has such positive perspective and views of the police department, and I think that's great. And I'd kind of like to point out that I think we as a community will run into more challenges. We are becoming more diverse, and we've got this whole pandemic thing that we're going to have to be dealing with. And I think some challenges are going to come up that may, I don't want to say jeopardize, that's probably too strong of a verb, but may affect the way people's perceptions and interactions. So that's something that we might want to strongly consider when we're talking about community input. That, no, we might be okay for now, but down the road, what's going to happen? Also, and I totally agree with the mayor about efficiency, and you know, find support with running numbers and reports and so on. And that's just what I'm thinking.
Don, does that give you enough information to move forward with this?
Well, we have a little more than I thought. So what I'm going to take from this is it's going to be a combination of both external and internal.
Okay.
I haven't commented yet either.
Yeah, okay. Go ahead, Randy.
I'm not comfortable with the internal focus part. A lot of that is something that council has worked with over the years. That's something that we were elected for. We can't bring in a group, I think, to do internal things with the police and bring it to council, and council just votes on it, because council has to, we're here to represent Bellefonte and the police and the other departments in the borough. The other thing that's kind of bothering me is this seems to be a knee-jerk reaction based on what's happening to get something in place, where in cases right now, we don't have any real issues, you know, that's led to some of the issues that the police are facing in other areas of the country. But I do agree that it's the community part that's important and what the community needs. The police are here to serve and protect. That's their job. And, you know, we can ask, as the chief said, and I think we've been told this a couple of times, whatever you want in the report, let him know, and he'll try his best to get it for us. Some of the reports that he was given, we shortened up because, you know, we didn't need to see some of the information that was included in there. And then we also have this survey going on that we haven't gotten any information back on yet for every department in Bellefonte. And I think before we start trying to set goals to something, why don't we wait and see what that report looks like? And maybe that'll point out some other areas that we haven't even discussed.
Sean, I would also like to ask that the report that you have from the evaluation that was done, that we get a copy.
It was a draft, a working draft, and I back to.
Or is it going to be in a finalized?
I emailed Mr. Merriman and to ask him when the rest of his group was going to be complete, and he said he has not. His is done. He hasn't issued it yet. He hasn't. Okay. I haven't seen the final one. It was a working copy that I saw that I was asked to read and go over.
Yeah. All right.
And make adjustments too. But
well, then once you have that final report, you'll share that with us then, right?
Yes, I sure will.
Thank you.
So I have one more thing to say, and then we'll move into the regular meeting. This to me hasn't been a knee-jerk thing. I've been advocating for a citizen review board since I got on council 5 years ago. So this isn't knee-jerk. This is a long-time desire and goal for the community.
I think Joanne, I think advisory board would be a better word for it.
Okay.
If you look at the memo, that's the words that we're using, advisory.
Right.
Okay. Any other last comments before we move into the regular meeting? Okay. I assume we're going to, do we skip the Pledge of Allegiance since we have no flag?
Oh, I'm going to have a flag for you, Joanne.
Okay.
Can I have one?
Yeah, Tom has one.
How's that flag?
Okay.
All righty.
Okay. Moving over.
May I take a minute and go feed the cat?
Okay.
Yeah. Just be a second.
Okay. I'll wait 2 minutes if you can do it that quick.
I'm going to take my dog for a walk.
You don't have a dog, Mayor.
Oh, that's right. Shit.
Now, we can't get started without Anne because we have just the minimum we need for a quorum, so she has to come back before we can get started.
Thank you.
Okay, now we can get started. Good evening, everyone. I'm calling the August 3rd, 2020 Bellefonte Borough Council meeting to order. First of all, we'll have a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence followed by the roll call. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for
which it stands, one
One
nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty
and
and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Yes, Miss Toski Batesy,
I'm here.
Miss Walker,
I'm here.
Mr. Brackbill,
Here.
Miss Cleaton,
Here,
Mr. Eden is excused, Miss Homboski is excused, Mr. Johnson,
Present.
Mr. Prendergast is excused, Miss Thompson is excused, and Mayor Wilson.
Present.
I need a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make that motion. Brackbill.
Brackbill, and who's seconding it?
I'll second it.
I think that was Walker. Any changes to the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Motion to accept,
I'll make that motion.
Clayton,
I'll second Brackbill.
Brackbill. Anyone want to remove either of the items? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Doug, you're going to have to unmute yourself periodically. Moving on to communications. Don?
All right, in your packet for the meeting, the first announcement is the Electrification Coalition for the Pennsylvania Specific EV is having a boot camp. It's a webinar and it's going to be held on August the 6th from 10 o'clock to 2 in the afternoon. The purpose is to understand the wide-ranging benefits of deploying EVs on a mass scale in Pennsylvania.
And the part that's particularly helpful for us is they're going to be doing a big focus on light duty and heavy duty truck vehicles, so that we can see what we can do for our public works, as well as the police force with the regular vehicles.
Correct. The next item in your packet is the annual Bellefonte EMS municipal meeting. It's an invitation from Scott Roth. He's planning on having the meeting Monday, August 31st at 7 p.m. Currently, they don't know whether they're going to do the meeting virtually or face-to-face. I would suspect it'll end up being virtual, but that is yet to be determined. They are looking for RSVP by the 26th of August. So anyone on council that is wishing to attend, please let Ralph know, or Kathy, and then Kathy will probably submit the response on the number of council members wishing to attend the meeting. The third item, there's a Talleyrand Park prayer event from Center County Aglow. They are wishing to hold this on September 11th, beginning at 7 p.m. and running it through September 12th to 9 p.m.
I'd like to refer that to Parks and Rec for review.
Okay. The next item, Talleyrand Park, there's a request for permission to attach a banner to Veterans Bridge to advertise the watermark in the park event that has been tentatively approved for September, I think that's the 8th. Give me
It's September 20th is what I've got.
September 20th, my mistake.
I don't believe that this has actually come through council. They reserved the gazebo area through, I understand, Kathy, but they haven't come through and done the COVID-19 review. So I want to refer both their request for use of the gazebo and the banner to Parks and Rec as well. We need to be consistent with every group that's coming through the parks at this time.
Yeah, they're mentioning of the approval. They did get approval back in February prior to COVID, but given the current circumstances, we will pass that on to them. The next item is there was an email in your packet regarding feedback on the street sweeper that the borough runs early in the morning. I don't know if you want to refer this over to street.
Yeah, I think we had a little bit of a conversation about this afternoon. It's rather a complex set of issues, so I think we'll refer to Streets Committee for further review and recommendation.
Also, there's a notice in the packet to the borough from Coca-Cola. The water bottling plant in Boggs Township is sold. The notification letter provides information regarding the actual agreement between the borough authority or the water authority and Coca-Cola, and the fact that there has to be a resolution on the transfer. The resolution's in your packet for a little bit later.
So let me ask a question here. Since it's becoming a new entity that will be handling the contract, is it possible for this to be negotiated so we can increase the cost of the bulk water sales? I think it's currently undervalued, and for the sake of the community, I think it should be negotiated upon the sale of the company to the new entity. But I don't know if that's possible or not.
Well, Doug, I'll let Doug maybe answer the question. I know there's an authority meeting tomorrow night, but Doug, you probably already know the answer to it.
This is the second time the water plant, the Coca-Cola has been, well, it's been bought once before. We have a 50-year agreement with Coca-Cola, and we're about in year 25. And right now we're looking for a way to increase that fee, Joanne. You're absolutely right. It's way under what it should be. So far, the contract is airtight, and we're hoping that if you read the memo, according to Coca-Cola, it is transferable because it was transferred the last time. Now, we're hoping that maybe we can find a loophole in that process, or maybe there's some clause that gets us out of that agreement. Let's see here. How can I word this? We're looking into it right now to see what we can do. And I think it's part of an executive session discussion tomorrow night of how to proceed with this. And it's interesting because we do have another agreement with the company that bought Coca-Cola out. So yet to be determined, I guess, is the answer.
Okay, well, my request is to try to push that as hard as you can.
We have been trying for many years to do that. Yes, you're absolutely right.
So since we're talking about dollars and referring to the water services that we provide communities, down at Weymouthsburg and so on, we talked, I think, a year or two ago, or maybe just last year, about once we started to monitor the output, the output was more than what we were receiving monetarily. And I think we were going to be looking into that, but I haven't heard anything about it for quite a while. I just wonder if that's still being looked at.
What output are you talking about?
I guess going down to Malmsburg, there was several leaks and stuff, and Bellefonte ended up paying for it, or we were losing a large amount of money.
That has not been resolved yet. We've been trying to resolve this fee with Coca-Cola at the same time. Malmsburg has an interest in that. So we're sort of fighting two battles at one time.
Okay. I just wanted to ask still a topic of discussion.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, to put it mildly.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions on this issue? Don, keep going.
Okay, the next item is there was a letter or an email from Cindy Hahn at CNET, just essentially saying that the board made a change to their programming policy. They now are allowing up to 5 internal non-televised programming for all its members. And some of the types of issues that you would non-televise would be a training session, interviews, vendor demonstrations, or something similar to that. A couple of years ago, for an example, we, when we had brought Center Region Code on board, that would be an idea where you could do kind of an internal training, have them tape it for you, and then you could use it for training purposes in the future. So it's just another option that CNET's providing to its members.
So we could do it for something like with HARB and giving a community training about what HARB does and that sort of thing, and then we just keep it on file and use it to share whenever we need to. Is that what
that's absolutely, yep. That's actually a good example.
Okay.
All right. The next item, there's an email in your packet from a resident regarding street safety. Once again, I don't know, Joanne, I'm assuming that you want this to go into the packet as well. This is in regard to our the painting of the lines in the street, the crosswalks and so forth. And the person had a couple severe incidents. I don't know if she's going to be on. She asked to be on the link tonight, but I don't know whether she'll end up coming on or not.
Well, if she does, we can always circle back to this. She's not on right now. Could we refer this one to Streets for further review and recommendations?
That'd be an excellent idea.
Okay, the next item is a memo that Ralph and I put in the packet regarding some website estimates, update estimates. One of them, we went to Blank 123, who did the website for us, and asked for some quotes. Number one is on the Shade Tree Commission, trying to make that more. The idea is to make it get staff as removed as we can, so it's more automated and easier for the residents to just put a request in for whatever it would be for the shade tree, and then they once they submit the actual application would go to the Shade Tree Commission members, and they would get a notification that there's an application waiting. The way things work right now, typically a resident will call the borough, works its way to me. They tell me what they want. I draft an email, send it out to the Shade Tree Commission. They go look at the tree, and then they come back, and I wait for the 3 members to send me an email. And then once I get 2 of the 3 that are confirm it one way or the other, then I go back to the resident and tell them they're either approved or not approved. So this is more of a streamlining event. There's 2 options that we have. My recommendation would just be to take the $400 option. That would be a big help. The other request was, a couple weeks ago, we were asked to put a drop-down box on the website for COVID, all the COVID-related information. And you can see there that in his request, I think he said it would be about $600 to put the drop-down box in.
So before I ask for the motion, so you're making a recommendation to do the $400 plus the $600 and hold off right now on the $22.50 Shade Tree Commission.
Yeah, the 2250, I mean, that would be ultimately that's the best way to go, but I think it's a little, where we are today, I would just like at least to be able to get the residents to upload their request, and it makes it directly to the Shade Tree Commission members without having to have all the phone calls and emails going back and forth.
Can we ask you one question before we make the motion, so whoever makes the motion can choose what is the best? Do you know how much time is that you all are spending on Shade Tree Commission issues, and how much per hour of staff time that's costing?
Well, I couldn't tell you how much it's costing, Joanne. It's my time, and it just depends on the request. I'm not really concerned about my time at all. I'm just trying to make it more efficient for residents. That's the purpose of it.
Okay.
If we kept it the way it is, I don't have any issues. But it just takes sometimes residents they have to wait up to 2 weeks before they hear what the decision is on their request.
Whereas, okay, that based on that, how long do you think it would take if we do the cheap version versus the more expensive version for them to get a decision?
Well, ultimately, it's a matter of how quickly the Shade Tree Commission members get out. And they actually, under this, if you do it the more expensive way, everything is uploaded, so they don't even have to go out and look at the tree. If there's photos of the tree, they can look at them online and make their decision almost instantaneously. That's how I would like to see it someday before I leave the borough. I mean, it would be nice to leave it in nice shape like that, but.
Well, since we're asking questions, could that drop-down box be used for other entities that the community needs to reach the borough about?
I think once we set it up as a COVID, I remember at least what I heard was initially it's all going to be COVID related. Now, let's just say by the end of the year, we have the vaccine and COVID is on the downside and we're not dealing with it as much. Could we use it for something else? Yeah, just change the name at that point.
But you just can't have one box to do a multitude of different areas.
He said that, if I read his memo correctly, Randy, it said that drop-down menu could have up to 18 different pages.
That's my point, does that
Yeah.
make more efficiencies for other departments?
It might.
Well, right now, everything COVID related, if you go onto our website, it's usually just, you got to keep scrolling down and, we keep putting different information on that you all request us to add to it. So it's not in one place.
And it's hard to find. Okay, so I need a motion from somebody regarding the drop-down pages and the Shade Tree Commission.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
What's the motion? Because we had two options for Shade Tree Commission.
Motion would be to add a drop-down menu for COVID-19 information to the website. You want them both on one motion?
Yeah,
And to have to revise the Shade Tree page to have a simple email notification that once somebody uploads and submits their information, they get a response. And that would be the motion.
but is that the 400 or the 2250?
That was the $400 one.
Okay.
And the drop down to 600.
Correct. Okay, Debbie, is that what you're seconding?
Yes, I will second that.
Walker and Clayton. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, got your marching orders, Don.
Okay, thank you. The final item under written communications is just the CATA press release, an update on planned fall service. I would just probably, for the community's sake, anyone that wants the updated information can go to CATA, call CATA, and get their press release on this.
And I think the other thing we could say is that Catago is not going away this fall. It still will be around.
That is correct. And if you need an, I'll just give the number there on the press release. They have their phone number is 238-2282, extension 5141. They are talking about some of their services will be cut this year. So if you are a CATA rider and you're concerned, you should call them and get their revised times.
Yeah.
I think, go ahead, Deb.
If you go to the CATA website, it's just catabus.com. They have a special link to all of their COVID-related service changes. And if you click on any bus route, it will give you exactly what the current bus schedule is, because everything's been reduced and somewhat rearranged, but everything's up to date right now.
And there will no longer be any Sunday services. For anywhere. We didn't have it before.
Anywhere. Right. That doesn't really affect Bellefonte either for the fixed route service or the Catago.
Right.
But if you're using anything outside of Bellefonte, in addition to Bellefonte service, you can pull up any route and it will give you the revised schedule during the COVID situation.
Yes, Doug.
And don't forget the Center County government has a transportation service also called the transportation office, and you can arrange for rides to the hairdresser, to the grocery store, to doctor's appointments, along with the Catago.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other written communications that anyone received? Seeing none. Any oral or public comment? Okay, moving on then.
Hey, Joanne,
yeah.
We have Josh Cohn on. Instead of having him wait through all the committee meetings, maybe you would want to just under oral talk about the Kepler Sprint Triathlon and see if we can deal with that so he doesn't have to sit here for an hour.
That's Parks and Rec, correct?
It's under streets.
It's streets.
Under streets.
Okay. Why don't we do, Josh, do you want to talk about our meeting last week and what we came up with?
Yeah, so hi, thanks for having me here tonight. And normally what I was telling the group last week is that I like to plan these things a long time in advance. I usually prepare about a year out, but due to the current situation, I work for the YMCA of Center County, and for about 12 years now, 10 years now, I've put on tries either at Kepler Pool. I put them on at Kepler Pool from 11 to 13, and then from 13 to a year or so, I've been putting them on at Penn State for the Y. But they all the proceeds benefit the Y. But due to the Penn State situation, obviously with everything going on, they closed down. I discussed with my CEO a couple months ago about possibly putting on the little sprint try again at the Kepler Pool at Governor's Park that we, the Y helps manage. And he said, go for it, get in contact with you guys, talk to Sean over at the Bellefonte Y and Annie, and get in touch with you guys about the possibility of putting this together since I've done it before. Obviously, I'd like to have more time, but and just with the current situation, you know, I have a friend that's an ER doctor. I'm actually at their house right now. And we've discussed, they do tries, her and her husband do tries, and we discussed the current situation. And she came up with a game plan, safety protocols with the assistance of looking through the CDC guidelines and their safety protocols. And we discussed it, and we thought that for events that this was a type of event that can be safely socially distanced and participated in. And so I went back to Scott and I reached out to you guys to see if this was something that, you know, with a few extra steps such as the mask wearing for all participants and spectators, unless you're actually getting in the pool and you're competing. You put the mask on once you finish. I have a box of masks for people to put on once they finish. Spectators are all outside the pool, socially distanced if possible, unless they're with the people that they came with. Or one of the things we talked about actually is that to keep with the 250 or less, that we're asking that participants only bring one person with them, so that we don't have a crowd. In 2011 to 2013, we had anywhere from 95 to about 115. And so even with that amount of people, I don't think we ever had more than 250 people there. So I'm going to keep the limit. I'm maxing it out at 75, or I would max it out at 75 if you guys are approve of this. And we have some of the other safety protocols were, how we split people up in heats and waves, so that versus like a typical 5K or 10K, like the Herb Street Run or Annie's, the YMCA, the Halloween Run, you're spread out in waves so that there's only 16 people on opposite, different ends of the pool, so that you're not in a one mass group start. So you don't have people breathing all over each other at like a start of a race where 100 people or 200 people are right there. So it's the nature of a triathlon. With the heats, there's a limited number of people starting with each group, so they're able to keep their distance throughout the event. And there's no group awards, there's no gatherings afterwards, there's no registration day of, so you don't have as many people in line at the beginning. So it's all pre-registered, so you show up, get your number, wait for your heat. Family members, spectators stay outside the pool, so you're limiting the amount of people in the pool. I think the max number is 90, so we'll be well below that. So we went through some of the things last week on the safety protocols to help keep people's distance at this event, and with the full understanding that the governor, or if we have an influx of something here in town, that if the night before we have to call it, we call it. We fully understand that, and understand the situation that we're in, that every 10 minutes it seems like something different's happening. But those are a few things. I'm happy to take a couple questions. I know you guys have a lot on the schedule tonight, so.
Okay, so what we'll do is put a motion on the table, and then we can ask any questions. So I would like to see a conditional motion to approve this event following all COVID-19 guidelines as presented in the 2020 safety protocol that was agreed to and with the streets committee as included in the packet, with the Y including the borough as a secondary insured on their event liability policy, with the borough reserving the right to cancel if necessary.
I'll make that motion, Brackbill.
Need a second?
I'll second it, Clayton.
Okay. Questions?
Being involved in that meeting last week, I think we covered a lot of the areas that people had concerns about. I think Josh did a good job in answering those questions and making us comfortable with what they're going to be doing out there.
Yeah, I fully agree with Randy. I thought it was a very well presented idea, and your communication with us went very, very well. I appreciate that. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, get your event.
Thanks. Hey, and I just said last week to the group, I appreciate it. Thank you. I'll just say this real quick and get out. I've worked at the Y for 20 years, and I really appreciate, the last number of years that, we're the YMCA of Center County, and it's been really cool to be a part of. It's been tough the last few months seeing what our communities are going through, but it's been really amazing to see the Ys from Phillipsburg, the Bellefonte to State College really diving into their community and helping it out in this time. And so, down the road, other things, other events that we can help out with. I'd love to work together with Annie and Sean and help put on other things to help bring people into the community. So thank you very much. And hopefully, if you guys have any questions, shoot me an email, and totally understand that like in 10 minutes, CDC can say something and this could go up in smoke, and we're just trying to protect everybody we can.
Well, the borough and the community appreciate what the YMCA does as well. So it's mutual.
Thank you. Have a good evening, guys.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other public comments or concerns that have been given to any of the council members? Okay, then move on to special committee reports. And the only special committee report is a report that was stuck into the packet from the Drive Electric PA Coalition from the July 16th meeting. And it was a follow-up email that I received last week. And it just provides further details on several EV grant opportunities the borough can apply for. Announcement of a Drive Electric webinar series in September. That's in addition to the boot camp that we talked about earlier. Info on how EV Electrification Coalition interacts with local governments, so it gives us a better idea of how we can work with them, and some responses to questions that were asked at the last meeting that weren't answered during the meeting itself. So it's there for your review.
I just want to add on to that quickly, Joanne, that we did finally hear from DEP regarding the second set of electrical vehicle charging stations we put in, and they are going to, the money finally came through, and they said that we should be reimbursed by no later than October.
Back in October. Okay, great. Any other special committee reports? Seeing none. Mayor Wilson, you're on.
All righty. I don't know if you received the, I think the emails went out. I don't know if it went out to everybody. It's the overtime report from the police department. There were 8 hours of overtime. 4 of them were regarding court hearings, and 4 hours were regarding incident reports that needed to be written up. So 8 hours. I did want to report just briefly that I am moving ahead with the gathering of support for the band shell. In fact, Donnie and I have a meeting tomorrow at 8:30 to talk with someone that's interested in helping with that project as well. So after some delay, we are moving ahead to try to see if we can gather mostly private funds to do that initiatives. So thank you for your support. And that's it.
Any questions for Tom? Seeing none. Council President, report, nothing. We can move on.
What?
Wow.
Right. Building and property.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's your turn.
So yes, Building and Property Committee met on July 29th at the south parking lot. Is that what we're calling it now? South parking lot. Okay. And there's a graphic here. And what we decided that we will have to do is to relocate an ornamental tree that is right by the Spring Street side of the lot. I don't know how else to explain this, but there's an entranceway there. So we're going to move that tree. The EV charging station is there, but there will be room for a kiosk there. So we're going to be putting it one kiosk there.
You can see my arrow here moving. That's where she's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Anne, are you saying that there's going to be moved to another space, or are you asking to get it completely got rid of, that tree?
I can't hear the question.
We're going to try to move it, Joanne, if we can. We're going to try to save the tree.
Okay.
It'll be moved somewhere, somewhere else, the park, somewhere.
Okay, so when we finish this, I have a question about that related to Shade Tree Commission. Go ahead.
The next kiosk will go in the part of the lot that kind of goes off parallel to Waffle Shop. This will be closer to Bishop Street at the end of a row of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 or 9 cars. And so then at the very end of that row along Bishop Street, there will be another kiosk. And then the third one will be where the cardboard recycling bin is along Cherry Lane and Perry Lane at the intersection there. We'll have to move the cardboard recycling bin, and we're going to lose a parking space as well, unfortunately. But slide cars container down to install that kiosk, the parking kiosk there at that corner. And I hope I wasn't too confusing.
Yeah, pretty self-sufficient.
So, question, do we need a motion to put them here, or can we just go ahead and use that as report and go ahead?
No, we could, just a discussion here. If you want to make a motion that this is where you would want them, that would be fine. We're ready to go. We've already actually just, we have to put the concrete pads in. So Matt's already did the one call to begin the process, but.
Okay. My question, and this is because we've had this discussion before about this particular parking lot, is that there is no trees, no landscaping whatsoever in this parking lot. And we've talked about getting the landscape architect to come in and make some recommendations. I think removing the tree before we have any input at all is kind of penny wise, pound foolish, particularly if that tree could be saved or moved somewhere within the lot. Also, because it's in the right of way, I think it has to go through this shade tree commission before we actually move it.
I would add, Joanne, that we looked at this location here for the kiosk, and we were concerned about traffic coming in and people, more of a safety issue. We looked at this area down here, and the problem down here is that this is a handicapped parking space. So we didn't have enough room that we thought would be conducive. This wasn't our first priority, but it ended up being where we felt like that it would be the only placement for it. And then we just remember as we go into later this year, we'll be putting together our CDBG application. And the goal this year was to do the whole streetscape from here, this block from beginning here up to here and then down to Cherry. So we felt that as we get into that, we can add the green, some green space back in when we do that project next year to finish that out, to replace, this tree that we're, proposing to lose here.
Is it possible to move it somewhere else within the parking lot?
The tree?
Yeah.
I don't really think so. I would love to, but I don't know where we could move it.
Okay, it's just a thought. We'd like to keep as much green as we can and save us some money, because moving a tree is expensive.
I'm not going to sit here and be, and tell you that I think that there's a chance. I mean, there's a good chance it won't make it on being replanted. We've had it in 2 years. It's only in a little 4x4 cube. Although the tree is doing well there, it's the price that we're going to have to pay for the convenience of the kiosk. And then hopefully we make it up with the, when we do the streetscape.
Okay. So I need a motion to approve the placement of the 3 kiosks as outlined in the map.
I'll make that motion.
Walker?
I'll second. Brackville.
Brackville. Discussion? Seeing none? All in favor?
Aye.
I,
All opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just give a quick update while Ms. Walker provided the kiosk locations. Just these 3 kiosks, we are going to put the concrete pads in the next week or so. We are expecting IPS to come in the week of August the 17th to install the kiosks. So those 3 will be in. Eric, the meter enforcement officer, started back today. He started back to really help us out with the single space meters. This is from Civic Smart. They came in and started the process today. So all the new meters in town will be replaced this week. It should be done by the end of the week. That's an update on the meters.
Okay, curiosity question. Once all these meters and the kiosk are in, is this when we're going to be increasing the fees, or are we waiting until January?
We already had to do that early on in the process, Joanne. When you order these meters, they program them before they even arrive.
Okay.
So everything is already done for the establishment. Now remember, the single space meters in town basically are all essentially 15-minute meters for those that want it. All they need to do is put a quarter in for 15 minutes. If people are going to stay longer, they can use it. They'll have the availability of using their credit card to do that as well. But it's coin and credit card and 15-minute increments in every meter. That's the way they were set up. As far as the kiosks are concerned, they were programmed to be exactly like the other 2 lots.
And when were we reinstituting the fees? Is that September 1st or?
I think it was September the 8th, the day after Labor Day, but I'm not sure council's formally made that determination yet.
Do we need to do that so we can get that out to the public?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. So I need a motion to reinstitute the meters effective September 8th. The parking fees.
So moved, Brackbill.
Seconded, Clayton.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
One final thing, Joanne, we are, and it was in your, I think, notes somewhere, we're working on revising the ordinance itself. So the goal is to have that, to have a draft ready here by the end of the month to begin to look at.
Okay. So part of that new draft, we need to look at changing the names of the parking lots from A, B, and H, which makes no sense to anyone, to north, south, and west. Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Walker? Need a second?
I'll second it, Clayton.
Okay. Discussion? Okay, seeing none, all in favor of the new names?
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Okay, I will let the design committee know that, so because they're the ones that are working on the wayfaring signage, and I'll let them know that those names have now been changed, so that when they set up the signage, they know what they're working with. All right, next one. Anything else for building a property? Seeing none, finance and government performance. Gina's not here. Don, do you want to go through it?
The budget actual, well, let me see, what do we got actual? I can try to take any questions with the report that Lori had. I mean, right now, I think, things are looking pretty good overall with the budget to actual at this point. We're with the way things have gone this year and the cuts that have been made, it's probably going to project well going into next year. I will say this, we're hoping to bring Lori into the next council meeting work session where she's going to provide council with a complete update of all the savings from the last 3 or 4 months and everything that was done. If anyone has any questions, I can try to answer them. If I can, I'll get the answer from Lori and get it back to you.
I have 4 questions, but I think probably what I can do is just send them. One of them is dealing with the COVID-19 expenses that are listed in the budget versus actual. Another is the wayfinding grant expense issue. Another one is a very high Talleyrand Park expense that I don't understand. And then an issue related to bulk water fund revenue that appear, and I think this is mostly a 2019 funding versus a 2019 revenue versus the expenses showing up in 2020. But it's just some clarification. So I can send those questions later and have Lori answer them.
Okay, that's fine, Joanne. If you want, we'll put the questions and answers together and put it in the packet for everybody next meeting.
Yeah, I just think this way we get to the meeting quicker. Okay. Anything else on finance or government performance? Next is Parks and Rec. Melissa isn't here. Do you want to start off and we'll see where it goes from there? This is the meeting I missed last week because of my medical procedure.
You want me to take it, Joanne? Okay.
Yeah.
The first item under Park and Rec is we have the payment application number 2 for the Talleyrand Park pedestrian bridge. The current payment due is $31,212.90. Our engineer, Jason Shura, signed off on it. So we're just looking for a motion to send this over to the county for payment.
Motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Clayton? And who's seconding it?
I'll second Brackbill.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay.
The committee held a meeting the other day regarding a request for cross-country practices. This was the request that was placed in your packet at the last meeting. We met with Deb Moore, the athletic director, and Carla Cipro, I think she's the cross-country coach, via Zoom the other night. They provided the committee with, I think, all the information that they needed to feel comfortable going forward, but I'll let the committee members speak for themselves.
So we would need a motion to conditionally approve with all the COVID-19 PIAA and parks guidelines with the secondary liability insurance and the right of the borough to cancel at any point.
I'll make that motion.
Clayton?
I'll second Brackbill.
Discussion, or anyone want to go into further detail of what was discussed?
This isn't their first time doing this, is it?
No,
I didn't think so.
no, I think I came in towards the end of this meeting and when this was discussed, and they're taking it a little further than the guidelines that we've been using, and using the PIAA guidelines as well, which are a little more strict than what we've been using with the other groups. And they're going to be following both sets of guidelines. So I thought that they were doing a good job. Other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All opposed? Okay. The restroom facilities?
Just a quick update. The upper restroom next to the tennis courts is complete. I think they finished it today. They're working in conjunction with the Y and getting some stuff out of there. So it'll be opened at the latest on Wednesday. They still have maybe some things to clean up tomorrow, but it could be open tomorrow, but I'm going to say Wednesday. That's a safe bet according to Matt Allman. So that one is finished. Guys are out working on the road, so they haven't even gotten back to starting on the lower restroom at this point. So that's still hopeful that we'll have that finished by maybe October, early November.
Okay.
The meeting is scheduled for the DBI lighting proposal update. The committee met the other night. Melissa's mainly the point of contact on that, so she asked for a meeting, or we offered to meet with her with staff to kind of help with that project. So Matt, Craig, myself, and Ralph will meet with her and Ellen on Wednesday at noon.
Wednesday at noon, okay. I'm not leaving town tomorrow, so I can be there as well.
Okay. And then finally, we just wanted to mention to council, this past weekend's pop-up drive-in at Governor's Park was canceled. The individual that was helping coordinate it ended up having COVID, so he wasn't feeling up to being able to do it the way we understand it.
Anything else for Parks and Rec? Seeing none, Human Resources, John isn't here either. So basically, with the employment applications are available for the parking meter and animal control positions and the administrative assistants on www.bellefonte.net. What's the deadline for that?
The deadline, I believe, Joanne, is Monday, August the 10th.
Okay, so it should be.
We're still looking for a couple more we're looking for some parking meter. Anyone interested in a parking meter enforcement, animal control? It's part-time, it's flexible hours. We are looking for some more applications there. The administrative assistant job, we're getting a slew of applicants for that. So we're doing well.
Okay. So after the 10th, we need to probably set up a Human Resources Committee probably within the 2 weeks after that.
Yeah, Ralph will probably be coordinating that as I'll be off for a little bit, but yeah, the sooner that we can get these jobs filled, the more time it'll allow for working with the current staff to bring them up to speed. So
okay, so talk to Ralph, find out when he thinks the best timing for that is, and send out a doodle.
Will do.
Okay. Anything else for Human Resources? Okay. Safety, Randy, you're here.
So we are going to be having a meeting to discuss fireworks legislation. I think we're going to be looking at creating an ordinance because we really don't have a fireworks ordinance. We go by with the state law. And so along that, there's a consideration for letters to state legislatures to rescind the most recent fireworks law changes because they've upped the ante on what size fireworks can be used. And in Bellefonte, we're pretty close with everybody, our neighbors and everything, and you can hear those fireworks from a long way off. We are having difficulty getting everybody together for the meeting. We reposted the meeting for a second time. I haven't gotten any results of whether that's going to take place yet or not.
The doodle's showing it at the end of August. We're not going to be able to do anything before then.
Yeah, which was okay. I think we had about 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks that we were advertising, and I don't know, when I took the poll, I was like the second vote. I was kind of waiting to see what else happened.
Yeah. I was number 3 this morning.
Okay. We need to push it back because everything's going on. I don't think there's any urgency at this point. We could do that at a later date if we want to.
Okay. So I need Motion to ask Ralph and Don to send letters to Corman and Benninghoff, asking them to rescind the most recent fireworks law changes.
I'll make the motion. Brackbill.
I'll second.
That was Walker?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Discussion?
Yeah, there's a movement, I think there's about 8 municipalities have signed on. What they're trying to do is to petition the state legislators to allow boroughs and, I don't know, third-class cities are involved as well, and townships to make their own ordinances and enforce their own ordinances and actually ban fireworks from that particular municipality. So I might be able to look into it further. I'm not quite sure how you get on that list if we actually want to get on it, to ask that the power be given to the boroughs to do that. I think it has to go through the legislators though, but I'm not sure.
So do we need a amendment to the motion to send both this letter and to sign on to this community multi-municipality letter?
I'm not sure that we do. I think Joanne, that we should just send that to both Representative Benninghoff and Corman, and just tell them we are looking at our ordinance now, and maybe in a separate conversation ask them how we could, once we come to the conclusion what we want to do, ask them then if we do want to ban them from the borough, that we ask them how we get on that list.
Okay, so maybe include that kind of information in the letter, I think would be helpful.
All right.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Anything else, Randy?
No, that's all.
Okay. Doug, water and sanitation.
Okay, we had a meeting today, August 3rd, to discuss the large number of grass and brush containers. Currently, we have about 760 paid containers out there, and we have about 900 out there total, which is about 140 unpaid containers. We're stressing our one person who picks up the grass and brush containers, and we're going to create a waiting list now. There will be no more new people added to the list this year. And once we reach a threshold of about between 1,000 and 1,100, we really officially said 1,100, but I'll say 1,000 to 1,100, we will end up splitting the route and have bi-weekly collection for folks. So if you get yours this Tuesday or this Thursday, you would wait a week and then you would get the next Thursday. Because it's just getting to be too much of an overload for one person, one staff member. That hasn't happened yet. We're not at that threshold. So the service continues until I think it's the week of Thanksgiving this year. Sometimes we extend that, sometimes we don't. And then in 2021, usually starts in April or late March. And you need to get on the waiting list right now if you want to be considered for next year. Any other comments on that, Joanne or Dawn?
Yeah, so if you don't currently on the active brush pickup right now, you can get on a waiting list for this year. It's first come, first serve. And should someone move out of the borough or decide to return their brush containers, who's ever at the top of the list can pay their $10 per container, and they can get into the active at this point for the rest of the year.
That is correct. You got it.
Any questions? Saying none. Anything else, Doug?
Oh, ma'am.
Okay, then we'll move on to streets. Deb?
Yes, the committee met on the 27th, and the first item on the list we've already discussed for the YMCA triathlon. That's been approved and will go ahead unless we hear differently. The parking meter ordinance is being worked on at the moment. I was wondering if we could put that on the agenda for the streets committee meeting, maybe look at a very rough draft so that we do have a draft proposal for council before the end of the month.
I'll make every effort to do that, Deb, sure.
Just so we have a rough idea, because with the removal of so many meters and the kiosks being put in, actually dialing down what the remaining meters, I think they're going to be gray and red, the two color heads that we have left.
Yes, that's correct.
Right. Just getting that all dialed down and then try to get a draft ready for council by the end of August.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, thank you. And during the work session this evening, we discussed child safety signage primarily for Pine Street. The recommendation was to install yellow diamond-shaped signage that is consistent with other PennDOT safety signage with black lettering that reads "Drive like you live here." We're hoping to slow down traffic and just make people more aware that they're driving through neighborhoods where there might be children or a lot of pedestrians.
Or elderly.
Well, all of us.
Yes.
All of us.
So I need a motion to have these signs made.
I would like to make a motion that we have the signs made that are yellow diamond with black lettering that read "Drive like you live here."
I will second that.
Discussion?
I would just want to add to council that we'll check, make sure that this complies with PennDOT, and assuming it does, and we'll go with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion?
I have a question. I just want to go back and revisit the stop sign coming from Pleasant Gap that it allows you to continue to make that right turn. Did Spring Township respond with making that a complete stop and then adding that stop ahead sign?
I think there's something under old business.
Oh, is there?
Yes.
Okay. I can wait a couple minutes.
Okay.
I didn't see it.
Okay. Anything else for streets? Energy and environmental conservation.
You didn't vote on that, Joanne. I think you didn't have your vote.
Oh, all in favor of Deb's motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Thanks for finding my miss.
Okay.
Mike is not here for energy and conservation. There are two quick things. One is that last meeting we presented the draft plan for the climate action plan. It was put up on the website, and we need your comments and amendments by August 15th. And then we'll set up a meeting for energy environment after that to go over and make any final changes before we present it to council in September. And the other is the sustainability projects, and Spring Creek kayaking proposal was really liked by Penn State, and they're meeting with us at Talleyrand Park at 2:30 on Friday.
What's the kayaking proposal about?
Do you want to do it?
Tom,
It was John's idea, and it has something to do about doing a sluice and changing a little bit of the water flow in Spring Creek, which would have to be working with the Fish and Game Commission and doing some other.
Yeah, he and I talked about that. So yeah, I know what that's. I know what that's about.
Maybe you
All right.
could have provided the input then, because maybe you should come to the meeting just in case John can't make it.
Oh, no. Well, yeah, I'll talk to you later about that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. If there's nothing else for energy and environment, we'll move on to community affairs.
Yeah, there was a HARB meeting held on July 28th. The agenda, draft minutes, and application presentations are included in your packet. HARB is recommending a certificate of appropriateness for roofing material replacement on 230 West Lynn Street and the installation of an entry gate at 168 East Curtin Street.
Okay, need a motion to approve the roof but not gutters as presented for 230 West Lynn.
I'll make that motion.
Clayton? Need a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
That was Walker.
That was Walker. The reason the gutters were specifically excluded was that the homeowner only requested roofing, did not say anything about gutters, and the HARB wants to make sure that should gutters be replaced, that they are the appropriate review before that happens. So they specifically said in their recommendation not to include the gutters.
Okay.
And it's going to be noted on the certificate of appropriateness according to their motion. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Okay. The second one is need a motion to approve the white wooden entry gate presented so long as it's no more than 4 feet high.
I'll make that motion, Brackbill.
Brackbill, second somebody?
I'll second it, Clayton.
The 4 feet high was put in by Walt Schneider. That way they don't have to do a building permit. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay. Moving on to old business.
Someone had mentioned here, I think at the last meeting, about getting some cut sheets on the larvicide used for standing water in the county. So Ralph got that off of Wayne Lobsher, and that's included in your packet.
Any questions from anyone on those? Yeah, the only question I have, and I don't know how, and I don't know how to read these very well, is what is the potential stormwater runoff for these things? Because they do both of these products say that they are toxic. But I couldn't tell from the product sheets whether there would be a potential issue or is it or not.
I don't know, Joanne, we'd have to go back and ask Wayne that question,
Okay,
which we can do.
okay.
The next item is to consider a motion to advertise for the sign ordinance amendment that's included in your packet. This was just as a refresher. A couple of meetings ago, we were talking about signs specifically in the downtown, the banners and that are around. So I don't know whether it was, I think it might have been the ad hoc committee got together and reviewed and made some suggested changes. If you've read those and you agree with them, we can make a motion to advertise.
Someone want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it, Clayton.
That was Walker and Clayton second.
Uh-huh.
I'm sorry, I'm talking to the tape recorders. So
Okay. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor to go to advertisement?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, so this will come up for a vote at the next meeting, correct?
Yes, we'll get this advertised and it should be ready to vote on the 17th.
Okay. Next,
Letters to state police in Spring Township regarding police services efficiency and effectiveness. The letters to Spring Township at stop at Pine Street, Mill Street, and Axeman Road was sent. And a meeting with state officials, the runoff from Zion Road. These are all letters under that Ralph wanted just to make sure that Borough Council was aware that he had taken care of all of those. Those letters were all sent. So the question goes back to Randy. Now, he had asked, have we heard back from Spring Township? And as of today, the answer is no, Randy, we haven't, but they probably just got the letter last week.
Okay.
so we'll put it on the agenda planning to ask what's happened to it at the next meeting.
Yes, I have one more item under old business that came up today. Again, I hate to continue to bring this up, but with the county transferring the responsibility over to CEDACOG for administrative functions, I've already told council that the borough is going to handle 16, 17, and 18, 19 CDBG, but we are also to receive $66,000 in COVID-19 money from CDBG. CEDACOG is going to administer that application process for the county and the borough. So we had a Zoom call today with both CEDACOG and county officials to figure out what needs to be done because the application is due by the end of August, and the county hasn't set up their second public hearing yet. So essentially, what one difference is a couple meetings ago, I think it was Randy had made a motion to approve council's application for CDBG funds for COVID for rent, utility bills such as water, sewer, refuse, electric, gas, restoration, and internet costs for center volunteers for medicine for residents of Bellefonte Borough. What we have to do now, and this is urgent because of the application deadline that we find ourselves in, is we could do one of two things. Council needs to assign the $58,000 that we're going to have minus the administrative funds to these specific projects, or council could just say that we're going to apply the funds to rent, utility bills, the sustenance program of rent, utility bills such as water, sewer, refuse, electric, and gas. And then down the road, if we find out we don't use all of our funds, then we can do an amendment to change it over for internet cost or center volunteers for medicine. That's what I would recommend. That will be the easiest thing in the process to get this so that we can have our second, they want to schedule a second public hearing next Tuesday.
Okay, let me ask you a question before we have a motion, because I don't know if this would affect what the motion would be. Is the funds that you all are putting aside that Lori's noting as COVID-19 funds in our budget, that is not part of this, is that correct?
That is correct. That's the separate county funding that's getting the $14 million of COVID that's going to come in and reimburse the borough for those COVID expenditures. This money from CDBG, Joanne, is money given to the borough for us to help borough residents.
Okay. So we would need a motion to modify what we did 2 weeks ago to just do the sustenance, and then if we have extra funds, then we can move them over to the center volunteers and internet expenses.
Through an amendment.
Through an amendment.
I'll make that motion. It seems to make sense to go with the latter with the, as you listed the ones, Dawn, so.
Right, Bill, who's going to second?
I'll second it, Clayton.
So do you want to just read them one, what we would be covering under this initial?
The sustenance program would include rent, utility bills such as water, sewer, refuse, electric, and gas.
Okay,
And then we'll probably have to work with somebody. There's someone at the county that we can work with that will help set up the program to establish who would be eligible, and then we can we'll be able to fund them with the money. Now, just so you know, the the funding would be, the borough's portion will be $59,434, and then there'll be $6,600 that would go to CEDACOG. That's 10% for administration of the program. So our funding allocation will be $59,434
okay.
for that program.
Discussion? So we need a vote saying that we will do sustenance, and then any extra funds will be moved over to through a change order for Center Volunteers Medicine and Internet expenses. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Moving on. New business.
Under new business, what we have is a draft ordinance related to mask wearing, social distancing, etc., related to the community spread of coronavirus. That was put in your packet. We have sent that over to our solicitor for review. Ralph has done that.
So that was what was requested at the last meeting, and depending on what the recommendations of the solicitor are, in conjunction to what Shelley Houck at PSAB has told us, we'll then send it to the safety committee for review with those recommendations. There may also be some discussions. Shelley Houck, when she sent us her thing, she said that there may be something coming from Dr. Levin and Governor Wolf about changing who can and cannot do these kinds of ordinances. But at this point, we don't know anything. So we'll just have to keep apprised of that.
Did the changes that Ralph sent out later this week or earlier this week, or last week, I guess it was, that they made, I think some people from State College made some changes?
Yeah, they're going to, I talked to Jesse Barlow on Friday. He said it was sent to their health board, and the health board finished with it on Friday. They're making some recommendations for changes. They are not in the draft that we received.
It was in a separate. It was in a separate sheet.
It was a separate letter.
Okay, they're going to be making their final reviews tomorrow.
So my question is, did those recommended changes go with what we sent with the original ordinance?
Are you asking, did those changes go to the solicitor?
Yes.
I don't know. Don would have to answer that.
Yeah, I saw Ralph sent the email, but I didn't see two attachments. So I don't know if he scanned it as one. I didn't actually look at the end of the first attachment. I do have the letter. I'll check on that after the meeting tonight. And if it hasn't been sent, I'll forward it over to Jeff tomorrow.
Right.
Any other questions on this? Any other new business?
Just one. I'll let you know. I'll be attending a PSAB meeting on Friday this week. I just got the information. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, but I'll try to bring a report back from that. It's a virtual meeting.
Okay. Okay, got it. Any other new business? Any other public comments?
I'll call the question.
Did we lose Joanne?
I think we may have.
I think she did. Randy, do you want to take it from here for the adjournment motion?
Sure, I don't hear any other public comments or anything. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Deb Clayton, a second.
There's
Need
a second.
We're all night.
Oh, I'll
We're gonna be
second.
here all night.
I'm sorry, I'll second.
Second by Ann Walker. So we're adjourned as of,
Even though that wouldn't be an official vote because we didn't have enough council meetings put out.
That's right. We're going to be forever in session.
oh man.
All right, the meeting adjourned at 8:51.